What's up, everyone? We're back for another live podcast. It's June 14th. We're going to actually be talking about outdoor adventuring with Eco Charger Quads today. I couldn't be more excited about this conversation. They are continuously innovating in this space, and we're going to be sharing a little bit about their journey today. I'm John, president and founder of Tesla Owners of Silicon Valley. Stephen, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Stephen Pilata, Director of Business Development for Tesla Owners Silicon Valley. And we have a super exciting guest and partner of ours today that we get the honor and privilege of talking to. They are across the pond, but they are close to heart, and they're actually going to be launching soon in the US, which is extremely exciting. And a little sneak peek, they're also going to be at Tesla Takeover, and we're beyond excited to have them there and to introduce them to the States.
And a little bit about Eco Quads is that they have created the ultimate adventure vehicles. Literally, it's a workhorse. It's an ATV with almost 70 miles of pure electric range. It has the ability to tow 1,000 pounds, four-wheel drive, obviously, and these ATVs lead the space, and especially they're electric, which is truly amazing. So let's bring in our awesome guest today. How's it going, Eco?
Hi, good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm Russell Crisp. I'm the chairman and CEO of EcoCharger. Hello to Fred.
Hello, my name's Fred Chug. I'm the founder and one of the directors of EcoCharger Quad Bikes, and we're still developing them to this day.
Well, awesome. Let's give our audience a quick view of obviously the amazing products that you make. Wow, I'm getting chills there. But yeah, we would love to, again, just kind of get into the story of how this all started and how we got here today. So feel free to kick that off and kick off that story.
Hi guys. Again, I'm Fred Chug, and we founded EcoCharger back in 2009, but the story goes back a lot further. I did ask Russ, how far do I go back? But I can go back quite a way. So we were originally involved in Scotland in the William Wallace and Robert the Bruce story. Our family were loyal to the Crown in Scotland. And then at about that time, when we were being overrun, some of the family fled on board ship and were shipwrecked off of the North Devon coast. So they came in ashore about 800 or 900 years ago and ended up on the North Devon coast as immigrants, basically. The royal family at the time realised the benefits and the service of the Crown in Scotland, so the farm came into the family for services and lands that they'd lost from a place called Castle Drum in Scotland. So that's how we ended up in North Devon. So I don't really consider myself local still, but we're as local as it gets. So the story then went on, scroll through lots of generations of agriculture and farming. And we were farming, thousands of acres in the area. And when I took on my father's business at 13, we were farming about 1,000 acres with 6 staff. So agriculture in the UK, I don't know what it's like in the States, but was suffering a bit of a problem. So, having run my father's business and then moving into our own business, we found that agriculture was getting tough. So we set up the normal farm diversities, contracting, shearing sheep, doing the normal thing that farmers' sons do to bring additional income. And then, that went along for a few years. And then in 97, the story with the quad biking story began. In 97, we opened a riding stables at the farm. And, all the gentlemen that were there would like to have ridden our farm quad. So we set up on the Monday, bought the quads on the Wednesday, and got the insurance on the Friday and opened on the Saturday. We quickly became one of the largest activity centres in the UK, with 100 bikes on hire and about 30 odd staff doing a range of corporate activities. And this business ran along into the 2000s and was going really well. And then we had a bit of an economic crash in 2008, and we thought, well, we need to diversify our business again. So I had an idea to develop a green and sustainable product. And for me, I always wanted to do something. How could I make a difference to the environment? So we decided that we could make a difference. Just the sort of script on come up on the screen, right? So how we could make a difference to the environment. I knew what quad bikes were. I knew how farmers and landowners abused them, and I thought I could make something as indestructible as I thought I could, using my knowledge. So we set about developing the ATV, along with a very clever friend of mine. We set ourselves up a clean space, and we initially developed them for the hire market, having 5 running around the centre for testing and usage around the centre, and they proved themselves very well in the hire sector. But the bigger picture, my wife said that we should sell these, and against the other guy's advice, we decided that we'd give it a go and we would sell them. So we picked 6 preferred clients and told them there would be some test and evaluation in the field with them through a local agricultural cooperative, and then we set about testing the bikes in the field. And actually, because we designed them fairly strong with belt brace design, they behave very well. And 4 of those bikes are still in the field now and still behaving very well. And we've sold those customers new bikes, and we've gone on to start recycling our bikes and in house, because we believe that sustainability is not just about the product that you produce; it's how you look after it and sustain it in the field, and how you look after it at the end. At the end of the talk, we will cover a bit more about sustainability and how we're doing that. But the business then grew on. We sold about 80 bikes at the farm. And at this point, things were getting a bit tougher in the business side of it. Supply chain management, service and support was becoming a bit more of a job, and the team needed to grow, and we needed to bring in somebody to help. So the UK government gave us £1,500 towards some help with some support on management and where to take the business next. And this is where we came into contact with Russ, and Russ came down and like Victor Khan, he liked it so much he got involved, and he liked the business so much. So, well, that's what I like to believe anyway. So Russ came to the business and has been around the business since for about 2012. So, Russ has then been responsible for the ongoing growth of the business, along with the help of the growing team. So I'll pass over to Russ.
So that's the background story. I don't know, you've got some slides there, John. Do you want to just scroll through those slides, just move on a couple, if that's okay? If you go to the range slide, I'll talk a little bit about the product we sell today. Yeah, that's great. You just hold on that. So as Fred said, it was started as a family mom and pop business. When I met Fred, they were making about 12 bikes a year, 12, 15 bikes a year, very small business out of the shed. I'm pleased to say that Fred's got a bigger shed, a more posher shed now, and we have a factory, and the business has expanded. So my background is in marketing, business development, management consultancy, and I was one of the early investors in the company. And for the last 10 years, I've really just tried to steer the business to where we are today. The range I'm showing you here is our current range. We have a range of products from sort of £10,000, $12,000 going right up to $25,000. Compared to a gas ATV, we know the US is the home of the ATV. The price is more expensive, but like everything in the electric space, you pay more at the start. And as we said, we've got a bike in the Prestige that will do over 70 miles of range. We have been selling in the US quietly for the last 18 months. I was just looking today, I think we've sold into about 8 or 9 states already. And we're really, really excited about this partnership with Tesla owners. Myself and Fred will be at the Takeover event. But really what it does, it's part of a journey where we see our market in 4 areas: UK, Europe, US, and rest of the world. And the US market is a really great opportunity for us because of the amount of ATV and quads that are already there. So yeah, so we're building a team. We already have distribution based in the US. We have a small staff, and what we're looking to do is actually build our bikes very soon in the US. So we'll be doing assembly there as well. But at the moment, everything is built in the UK, and we ship all over the world.
That's awesome. No, it's really cool to just see, especially the expanse and the breadth of what you're doing, especially with the variety of products that you have. So, what would you say is the overall purpose of EcoCharger quads? Like, what was it that you were trying to solve, not only when it was created, but even potentially as the market is adapting today?
Do you want to do the early days?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was it was a legacy project. I wanted to do something that would make a difference. As I said, our heritage goes back 800 or 900 years, and my primary thinking is, well, what's going to happen in the next 800 or 900 years? And the environment is the the big thing coming over the hill for all of us. So I thought, well, what can I do in North Devon as a farmer and as a quad bike person? And I thought, well, I know quad bikes, and there doesn't seem to be any ATV. So I think, well, why can't we do that? And approaching various organizations, they didn't think it was possible. But we found that with new technologies, it was becoming more possible. So we decided to do that. And, I believe we're, I'll cover this a little bit later on, but we're entering the next industrial revolution now. The revolution is going to be, the environment and environmental, projects that we need to bring on. We have the technology to sort this out, but we now need to galvanize the will of everybody within the world to do this. It's all very well us doing it in a little bit here, but there has to be a will for people to change and change their ways.
Yeah, for sure. There was something I was thinking about too, as we all owned gas cars in the past. John and I are both Tesla owners. I don't know if you are electric vehicle owners as well, but there are countless benefits of switching over to an EV over a gas car. Can you talk a little bit about how an electric quad outperforms and just the main benefits of switching to an electric quad versus a gas quad?
Absolutely. So I think everyone gets that the EV is about it's a higher capital purchase and you get the benefits. So we talk about this is English pounds, 3 pence a mile as opposed to 30 pence a mile. So the ROI, the cost saving, on the average use of 100 miles a week, you can get your cash back within 18 months. Not everyone does 100 miles a week on an ATV. So there's the basic commercial benefit, but then in terms of the design of the bike, so the first thing we talk about is safety. The weight of our bikes, the low center of gravity, makes them a lot safer. We do in Australia, they have something called the 5-star tilt test, where the bikes are actually tilted, and ours is the best performing on a bank. We demonstrate that if you went out when our dealers come for training, we actually demonstrate that in a physical way. So there's a safety aspect to it, the weight aspect for towing. Believe it or not, lead acid is still popular in our range because it gives extra weight, and that creates a benefit for those people that want to tow something or want a little bit more stability. Obviously, lithium is lighter, faster, more range. So there are the benefits you get with the EV, but also there are some nuances. Plus, I don't know if you.
Yeah, I mean, as Tesla owners, most of you guys will be aware of regenerative braking and the benefits of that. The reduced brake wear, the reduced component count within the bike. 1,000 less componentry items, all running in carbon-based, solvent oil. Wearing and tearing. You don't get the vibration. You don't get the heat loss. So you don't have all those entropies that you need to overcome. So the bike has a lot of benefits. The motor has one revolving part and one bearing. So and that solves a lot of problems in the fact that there's less vibration. You've not taken a reciprocating motion to turn it into a spinning motion. The motor is already spinning. So regen braking, it gives a greater ability to slow down on surfaces and hear the terrain. I know this sounds a bit peculiar, but you can hear the terrain underneath the tires. Tires launching on grass or slowing down on grass, gravel spinning up below you. So you can bring the bike in and the torque curve is linear. And like the electric cars, you know, the torque comes in a linear curve as it goes up. You know, you haven't got to wait for an engine to spin up. You haven't got to wait for a turbo to kick in. You know, the benefits are, you know, are evident. But I mean, Tesla owners will be aware of this phenomenon that is electric, you know, vehicles. You know, because they are phenomenal in the way they deliver power for the user. You know.
Right. And I was thinking, you know, for you, creating the electric quad bike wasn't just a fun little project. It wasn't just something for you to have a good time. It was an answer to a need. And I think that's what's great. So you said how old is your oldest quad bike that is still running?
The oldest electric quads would be in the region of 12, 13, maybe 14 years old. So in the heritage center, I still have my 9 early quads.
So reliability is another major component where an electric quad bike is just going to far outperform gas. Like you were saying, just reliability is a major plus.
Yeah, I mean, you've got less moving parts, less servicing, you know, all the benefits that come with EV ownership. You know, and the guys from Tesla will be aware of those because they'll be experiencing those benefits within their cars. So an electric quad is just a very easy thing to live with. You know, when you're using it around, we still use them for fencing, and I've been using one this morning for fencing on the farm. You know, to move it to the next fence post. You know, you don't have to listen to an engine. 2 of us went out this morning with 2 trailers with all the kit and equipment on. You can hold a conversation while riding across the field. You know, so there's lots of inherent benefits. You know, we use them on the holding for the horses to move the livestock around. You know, the quiet operation. You know, all of these things are benefits. There is very few detractors that I can come across, you know, other than people are a little bit stuck in their ways. They understand fuel, they understand how that works. This is a new model to them, as the EV space is, you know, with the car space. You know, with us, because we're using them usually within a property or within a specific range, you know, EVs work very well. You know, so we don't have those charger or charge anxieties or range anxieties so much, you know, because the quads are normally used in a location, you know, but we have moved on to developing, you know, additional range, and, you know, for those that require a greater range, and, you know, for military applications and things like that. So there is other plans afoot, but in answer to your earlier question, you know, the thing that motivated me, you know, is to build a vehicle, a self-sufficient vehicle, and charging on solar PV at the farm, you know, and running it into an ATV with all the electric power tools that we use around the farm, you know, is a green operation. You know, so the aim was to make the farm a sustainable place and become an area of eco-excellence. And also, you know, we're looking at the full, you know, decarbonisation of the farm. You know, so, you know, carbon offsetting and all of the things that go with that. So, you know, for me, it's become a passion and a lifestyle choice to move the farm to a greener space, and to open the farm up to other people. You know, we sell to the duchy estates, we sell to councils, parks, authorities, you know, because they're now being told they have to go green. You know, so we've got those people now banging down our door because they see us as an easy swap out for their petrol ATVs.
Yeah, and you brought up a great point too, which is there are a lot of positives that come out of an EATV. Like you said, if you're on the farm and you're with one of your workers or whoever it might be, and you're trying to carry a conversation, I've been on plenty of quads before, and it's quite loud. You're going to have that helmet on. Everything's going to be muffled. So that's just another positive that you wouldn't quite know unless you're actually putting this to work and having more of a work experience with this compared to just like an experiential or a thrill component. So it's another major positive.
I would love to know a little bit too on kind of like expected lifetime of the product, potentially like gas versus electric, if that is similar to kind of all of the other benefits that you said on just like it as a workhorse for, you know, electric versus gas. But I would love to know kind of like lifespan, if that is also a thing. And then also too, just we can get into like how you've scaled to kind of where you are today.
Yeah, sure. So I'll take those points. So like, you know, we work on a 5-year cycle with the bikes, although we actually literally bought a bike back last month from a customer wanted to upgrade, and it was 10 years old. We refurbed the bike and we sold that bike again to somebody else. The residual values, believe it or not, if you go on our website, you'll see our bikes hold a very high residual value, because that's just the difference, between ATV gas versus electric. So we work on a 5-year cycle. We've got bikes out, as Fred said, for 10, 11, 12 years. We look at our battery life over 5 years. And that's the sort of timeline we look at. In terms of how we scale the business, when I first got involved, it was a mom and pop, make a bike a week or make a bike a month. The business was undercapitalized in the early days, so just having the stock around us to build the bikes, that was a challenge. But we basically have built the business over certainly the last 5 years, incrementally doubling year on year. And as I said, we're never going to be the biggest, the likes of Polaris and some of the larger organizations. We know they're looking at the same technology, and they'll be looking at tens of thousands of units. We're a 200, 250 unit business trying to become a 2,500 unit business. So we're managing our expectations. We are in the upper quartile on quality. We are absolutely the most expensive on price. We say to people that our customers like that, our non-customers don't buy anyway. So we have this, following of people that want it because it works, because it's functional. We don't make for children. We don't make toys. We make a very powerful range of bikes. Even our entry-level two-wheel drive Prime will tow, 350 kilograms. It will do over 40 miles an hour. It will give you 45 miles of range. So, in real terms, that none of them are toys, and they cost more money. So, our operations in the UK, we've doubled production. We're looking to set up manufacturing in America in the next 12 months. We already have distribution, and it's just really a scaling of the business, but trying to double year on year in terms of our volumes.
How do you see your involvement or birth in the US shaping the future of EcoCharger quads compared to, I for myself, I see you definitely still shining as the workhorse of this sector. But how do you see your interaction with the US market differ from your main market today?
I think that's a great question. I think that the US market is certainly one of the most developed and certainly has the biggest market space. Something like 70% of all ATVs are, a lot of them built in the US and sold in the US. We know there are certain market sectors because of price we'll struggle to get down to. But hunting, fishing, trails, eco tours. It's been really interesting. We did a soft launch in the US because we wanted to learn the market, and selling a few bikes has taught us a lot. We now have regular, we get as many inquiries a week out of the US as we do from the rest of the world, believe it or not, even though we're just still entering the market. And that's because the demand is already there. Price is always the thing that people say, how much? $20,000, I can buy that for 10 or 11, but we know about that. Everyone in the EV space knows about price. But then when you talk to them about what's your requirement, what do you need, how are you going to use it? They're very similar. The customers are the same. We have eco tour parks in Hungary, in Costa Rica using our bikes. We have people in Colorado using our bikes, looking at how can I make the two-wheel drive work rather than the four-wheel drive and save $6,000-7,000. So I think the big uptick for our business, what we're seeing now is moving from the want to the need. So we talk about people that want to buy because they can afford it, they have a desire, that's great. That's ones and twos. The real growth is in the B2B need space. So councils, we have in the UK 62 clean air zones where you can't drive your car into the city without paying a charge. Something like that in America, I think is happening. It's going to happen more and more, where the race to zero, people are going to be cognizant of they need to do it, and that's really where we're pitching our flag. We're saying, look, if you need to do a job of work, if you need something that's safe and reliable, come to EcoCharger. The market is more mature, but I think the customers are the same. They have a specific need, and once you identify that, they're similar not exactly the same, but they're similar to other markets in the world.
You brought up a great point too. One of John, I don't know if we have a slide on this, but showing the entire lineup and specifications as far
Yeah,
as
I think it's on there. Yeah.
So one of the things that I don't know if it's this one or there was.
Yeah,
there was
scroll down a few more, scroll through a few more. There's a plain black slide towards
yeah,
the end.
the first time I was looking at everything, I realized you do something fairly different where a lot of people buy a product based on simply just a want, right? I want a cool electric scooter. I want a fast electric car, but they're not looking at it from and I don't want to overuse the word workhorse, but they're not looking at it from a workhorse perspective or a need perspective. And that's what you brought up, which is spot on, which is, do you need to tow this much? Do you need this much range? Like what's going to fit your needs as a farmer, as a hunter, I saw too, congratulations, you had a partnership with the Cayman Island Police Force, right? I believe you worked with them. So really your product fits needs. And I think that's what sets it apart compared to a lot of our other products that just tailor to wants or kind of like the emotion of someone.
Yeah, and just talking a bit more to that, I mean, the Cayman Island Police, they came to us 5-6 years ago. They had a specific need for drug patrols on the beaches. They wanted to have air-conditioned dog boxes. They wanted quiet. They wanted sound endurance. They wanted something that was reliable, and it fitted that need, and we like that. The first question we ask any customer, or should ask any customer, is, what are you going to do with it? What's your requirement? Because so many people think two-wheel drive is not good enough when it actually is. A low center of gravity electric quad two-wheel drive will do a hell of a lot before you need to go to a four-wheel drive. But as soon as you start towing something, dragging something, doing something in really difficult terrain, of course, four-wheel drive kicks in. But it's just our philosophy. It's how we roll. We give everyone a 30-day buyback. Why is that? Because if you buy the wrong quad, we'd rather give you your money back than have you with the wrong quad. And I think that's unique to our business. We just don't want eco chances out there that aren't being used. We'd rather have the bike back and find someone else who has the right need.
And for me, it was also important to have a bike where form and function were important. It had to look good and be good. It wasn't good enough just looking like a home-built ATV. It had to be, factory built and, appointed properly with speed-sensitive power steering and electric switchable four-wheel drives and all the accoutrements that are on normal quads and some more on ours with the regen braking. The bespoke nature of the bikes, being able to bespoke them. But I mean, every day the bikes are tested, at our facility. We have a facility where they're being used in real time. And we're also, just this last week, I've lent our next developmental bike to one of our existing clients from 10 years ago to do a report on. And he brought the bike back on Monday, and his wife said he really doesn't want to give this one back. He really likes the next project. So, this is what we do. So it's not good enough for me just to test it at home. We do have preferred clients, and they're not mechanically sympathetic clients either. So we throw it out there to people to use in the real space, because durability is important to us. That isn't to say people can't break it, but we try to make it as bomb-proof as well. And the technology we have within the bike, part of the technology looks after the bike, part of the technology looks after the customer, and that keeps the bike and the customer safe. And that is where our strength is that to bring those two things together and make something that's safe and durable is important, because this is we don't want people to keep chopping and changing their ATV. We want them to use them, but when they feel as though they need the next model or the next benefits of the next model, then they'll change up, and we can then either recycle their old bike, it's beyond repair, or we can repair it and refurb it and sell it on. We're about the sustainability of the project really.
Yeah, I really love that about what you're doing, stability, durability. Can you tell us about kind of maybe some of the first quad, like what was the testing and validation that you kind of needed? It looks like you're obviously even working on a second version of some of the, or even third version of these bikes and quads. And so it's more of like, what exactly, early on really validated what you were doing, and that you're like, all right, these are the 5 or 6 quads that we want to make.
Yeah, do you want to talk to that? So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, effectively, we wanted the bikes to be able to do a job of work first and foremost, and be fun while doing it. So, while logging on the farm, we use them for logging, either pulling out logs or loading logs, moving sheep around at lambing time. We've got a paddock cleaner that's a land-driven brush that collects about 4 or 5 wheelbarrows of poo into a container, and that's a land-driven brush, and that's being used on the site, about 4 or 5 hours a day. So, these sorts of things tell us, the durability of the quad, and also, that some people require a bit more power. We find that 5% of our customers require more power, and we do have a more powerful version, i.e., the version I let this, one of our existing customers, and hence why he loved it. But we have to be careful that we don't supply them with an all single or dancing quad that they're just going to find a new way to break. So we have to make sure that the quad is as good as it can be and as solid as it can be. But we don't want to build something that just tears its shafts and tears itself to pieces, because with the powertrain that we have, we could uprate it so that it would literally start tearing off shafts, stripping bolts and threads and splines. And that is no good either, because if you build something that will, in the early stages, I did a video where we bump started a tractor, an 80 horsepower tractor. We put it on the lane, stopped the tractor, restarted the tractor with the quad bike, and then I came across a few customers that were trying to do this with bigger tractors, and they were saying, well, I've broken this and I've broken that, and so we had to be careful that what we recommend the bike can do. And also with the towing capacity, it's all very well saying a bike can tow a ton, but if the bike only weighs half a ton, if the trailer is unbraked, then you're creating a problem in the downhill locations. So on our spec, we have to be quite careful that we can validate our spec to be safe and secure for the rider and for the product, because it has to fit all. But as with all products, they have a limitation, and that is it. But we're aiming to find the limitations at home, and then with our existing customer base, and we don't do so much testing in the field with customers anymore, i.e., just putting out a new product to get feedback. We try to iron out as many of the problems that we may encounter, pre-manufacture.
What's been some of the general feedback, positive and maybe even negative, if you want to share, but general feedback from your early customers that they've shared with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had the pilot customers with the 2-wheel drive that predated me, and then we forever started to build a 4-wheel drive. I think one of the biggest challenges with a quad bike is that people don't treat it like a tractor. Okay, so we talk about towing weight, so up to 500 kilograms, 1,000 pounds, whatever. We have a bike. The bike Fred's talking about is it will tow 1,000 kilograms. It will tow 2,000 pounds of weight. We don't really want people to do that. The power is there in certain situations. And what we've had, one of the biggest challenges we've had is people putting, too much onto that. You'd never do it with a petrol bike, but they try it with an electric bike. And the problem with an electric bike, in the early days, we now have features that won't allow you it. It goes into limp mode. But when we were still figuring this out, people could burn out a motor or break a controller, and that's part of the journey we've been on. So I'd say towing things that shouldn't be towed is one that I think about. And occasionally it happens today, but we're pretty prescriptive. If you see from the range card, this is what it will do. Please don't do more than that for any long period of time. I think that sometimes people buy a 2-wheel drive and treat it like a 4-wheel drive, and that's why we have the buyback policy, because we don't want people to have bikes they don't need. But on the whole, we've developed our business through the eyes of our customers, which it takes longer, but it's better. So at the end of the day, the feedback we get, some things we just have to say, no, it won't do that. You can't take it through waist high water, but you can take it to a certain height and it will be fine. So these are the things that you learn over a 10-year period, if that makes sense, rather than being a 2-year-old startup. And so the range we offer you today definitely has the best features, the best performance. We have more to come, which is going to be released later. We've got an extended range battery, which we think will give up to 150k of range. We have a bike that's twin motored that will tow up to 1,000 kilograms, which is ridiculous. And we're constantly working with our engineering team and testing to try and, we don't want to end up with a range of 20 bikes, but I think there's a twin motorbike coming and making what we've got better. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I'd say, those are the key things we've seen, and feedback negative, it won't do this. And then we have to listen and learn, and then change our range option.
I mean, one of the things was, me as a product developer was systematic failure. I didn't want systematic failure where you would just get a raft of calls saying that something had failed. And we had something akin to that with one of the early bikes about 9 years ago. We had about 10% of clients could make the rear differential fail because we were putting quite a bit of torque into the rear differential. So we had to upgrade the differentials and make our own differential to go into the casings. So we've had challenges along the way, as you would as any developer of any product would. But the aim was to always make it bigger and better. And when Russ came to the business, my concern was when the management team come to a business that they would lessen the brand by sourcing cheaper parts. And my experience of cheaper parts, parts made in China was they would accept a 10% failure rate. Well, on our product, that would cause me a 3-day headache of changing out parts in Scotland. So I very quickly learned that I had to use high value componentry. And Russ and the team have never sought to cheapen those components because otherwise we would just be storing up systematic failure for ourselves in the future. So it very quickly became evident that you use the best parts. And we found out the spec on batteries people lie about or companies lie about, based on they can very easily blame the customer for leaving them flat or not charging them properly. And we found out that wasn't the case. In our own tests, we found out that the battery manufacturers were using cheap internal componentry and cheap leads and cheap manufacturing processes. So we found out that by getting more involved with the battery processes and understanding the quality aspect, and the Odyssey battery from Enesis was a turning point for us as much as lithium is now. But I believe, as I said earlier, we are entering the industrial revolution of the next phase of human existence, which is going to be more sustainable. We all need to get on board with this. It is the most important thing that's facing humanity today. Is that we all get on board with the changes.
Right. Yeah, you brought up a great point. Really, really great point. It's just, yeah, I don't know what to say. It's spot on. A lot of companies don't want to take negative feedback. Either they hide away from it, or they don't want to put it out there. Or they just they're ignorant to it. But some of the best companies, I think Tesla's a great example of this, where they seek. And I don't like the word negative because it sounds poor. It sounds bad. But if you don't receive negative feedback, you can improve as a company. Like you said, if people are giving feedback about the differential braking, whatever it is, well, then you're not going to know to source from a better place. And that goes ultimately back into the price of your quads. It's like, yeah, they're not cheap, but they're good. If you want a cheap quad, you can get a cheap quad, but you're probably going to have parts that are going to break within a year or 2 years, maybe even sooner. And that's what sets you apart. And your reputation is your one of your most important assets as a company. And I think that's what's really setting you apart as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Model Y just became the best-selling car in the world, like not just, in the US or in the world as of Q1. And the price of the Model Y is 2 times the price of the second car, which is the Toyota Corolla. So I think ultimately, as EcoCharger is building, great quads, great ATVs, you can really just rely on the quality of the product. And also too, you really have a good idea of what you are and what you're not. And so I think that really helps. But where do you see like the next 4 to 6 years? I mean, it sounds like, we're kind of in this, as you said, like this next journey going from, gas to electric. But how is that, impacting your view of your product roadmap for the next 4 to 6 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. We like I said, we've got five in the range. We'd like to launch the twin later this year. We're just trying to make sure it's perfect. We're not perfect, but it's as good as it's ever going to be. It will not be a cheap piece of kit, but I guarantee it will sell some. I guarantee our customers are amazing like that. They know about price, but they don't stop at price. They buy what they need and they want. So I think that'll be nearly a $30,000 bike, but it will have a requirement for certain people in certain applications with the extended range and the power. In terms of the business, we just want to be the best brand in what we do. I say we build through the eyes of our customers. Every day we get feedback. Someone does something, and we try to listen and learn. It's tough as a small business because, like you say, people don't want negative, but it's the bad that makes you better. So listen to what the customer is saying, and I think know who your customers are not. Some people are just not our clients. And with in a very polite way, we don't really want them as customers because it won't be right for them. So all of that leads me to we want to grow. We want to be several thousand units in volume. We have a lot of interest from larger corporates already talking to us about licensed manufacturing. We have a large partner already in Turkey who have actual operations in the US, and conversations with them about building the bikes out and how they could help us with that. So ultimately, how big will this get? I don't know. I'd love to say to we have a 3-year plan. We're sticking to that. We're writing the plan. We update it, etc., etc. We did sell some of our shares last year to a private investment network in London, and that was very successful. And that's given us the investment to become bigger in America and to grow our footprint. But for me, it's really about do we have bikes out there that work well? Are customers happy with them? If you get that bit right, your business is probably going to grow, because word of mouth is the biggest form of communication, and happy customers tell more customers. So that's why we offer a buyback. We try and be there for our customers when we sell, and it's not cheap to do that, but it's better in the long term. So we want to grow the business. I think the range will evolve. Yeah. I don't think we'll have five more different variants. I think we'll probably end up with 5 or 6. That's it. We're just going to keep growing into the verticals. We know where we're successful.
Maybe a little bit more on future development. And like I said, maybe this is 3 years out. Maybe it's something you're already doing. But have you considered putting some type of like an outlet on board where you could put whether it's like a Sawzall or anything you would plug into a wall?
That's a great point. So we already do that. So we have a number of partners. So in the UK, weed spraying. So for weeds for the councils, we have a partnership with a couple of companies in the UK where we're the mule really for their equipment. So we're powering the weed spraying, etc., etc. Gritting it for the winter. We have fitted our bikes with snow tracks, which is amazing.
I think we have a picture of that. I don't know, John, if that's something.
Yeah, we have a picture of that, I think, on one of your slides. And we did that up in Austria. Obviously, as soon as you're putting that torque through there, it's very heavy on power. So the range, you lose range, but in short bursts, it's amazing. So we're constantly looking at, making our bikes become utility vehicles, but like you say, also being able to carry more and do more in the field. So, have almost like a power station, if you will. We're already experimenting with that, and we have some good examples of that that we could show you.
Yeah. John, if you could bring up that exact last slide you had there, I did want to ask you both a little bit about some of the benefits of lithium versus lead acid, some of the benefits of lead acid versus lithium, because obviously you offer both. So what's your why? Basically, why offer both lead acid and lithium?
Yeah, I mean, so lead acid is easier to recycle, as there's a very tried and tested recycling process for lead acid. They're also a bit heavier, so they sit better on the ground in certain applications, for the towing and things like that. So, and some people like a heavier quad. The lithium is more powerful, has a greater cyclic life. The new batteries we're just testing at the moment have double the cyclic life, so how many times they can be charged. They also have you can draw power out at a greater rate, and you can put power back at a greater rate. So the battery evolution is, with our product is moving along quite quickly. But we have to be quite close to manufacturing sources of the batteries and also assemble and manufacture batteries ourselves, because we're quite a bespoke application with quite an unusual power demand that we feel that that's the best way to do. So we're building relationships with people that can supply us with the right equipment to do that. So going forward, I don't think lithium is the total answer. As is in the constant current load market, there's going to be hydrogen, there's going to be other power sources, but we believe that our quad is the best quad that we can make it for work-based applications. We've proved that in the last 12 years. So it's helping people to move across into to a space where they can see themselves using and owning something where it has a slightly more additional purchase cost, but they overall has a lot lower cost of ownership. People are beginning to understand that with electric cars, but also they need to understand they need to charge them renewably. And as I said earlier, it's very important for us that we recycle the bikes responsibly. I mean, all our plastics now are chipped and recycled into furniture and extruded into fencing materials and garden furniture. And this furniture will have 100 years lifespan. So even when our bikes are finished, even when our bikes are finished, I've just supplied 50 sets of plastics to the chip, the people that make the furniture. They've chipped them, and then we've had back some of our plastics in furniture. So it's not, we're aiming to be a whole life cycle and interested in the product right from inception right the way through to when the product is recycled.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and as we're beginning to wrap up here on the hour, I did want to talk a little bit more about the future, your involvement, and I don't know if it's a proper term, but like your birth into the U.S. But I was thinking more of some of the use cases because you're more work focused. I'm sure you have plenty of beaches there by you, but if in the States, whether it's California, Florida, you go to Miami Beach and you'll have the beach patrol riding around on quads. And it really ruins that pleasant beach experience of it's calm, you're by the ocean, there's the ambience of the beach sound of the people there. And then you get an officer riding by on a quad and it stinks and it's loud. But have you also looked into partnering? Like I said, you have your relationship with Cayman Islands, but have you looked into working with Miami-Dade Police or John? I don't know all the lines of places out there by you, but these are places that really want to shine in sustainability and environmentalism. Electric vehicles are obviously extremely hot. So have you looked into working more on a government level?
Yeah, it's a great question. We have conversations. It all started in Australia for us because we've had distribution there for 5-6 years now. We have a partner down there, and we've already been talking to the beach patrols, etc. down there. So it would be the next place to go. It's back to my B2B strategy. We've had inquiries. I think as our presence builds in the US market, and people see more of what we do, I think we will see more B2B authority-based selling. And absolutely, the applications are there. I still think price is a challenge for budgets, and people, they pay twice as much for our quads, and that always, people always, why and how do we make it affordable? But I think those barriers, looking to the future, are dropping fast. We're seeing that with the authorities in the UK. It's no longer about ICE engines and just buy it as cheap as you can. You've got to show a green credential. So I think it will happen. We're looking to strengthen our bench of management in the US. We're just about to appoint a sales leader for the US market, and that will be one of their primary tasks. Is probably whilst the direct sales will come in, focus on the B2B spaces. To your point, that's going to be part of the strategy moving forward, and then as soon as the volumes increase, we'll do assembly in the US as well. So that's all part of where we're heading, really.
Yeah. There's a quick follow-up to that too, which is in the States, we just put out an article recently. John had this up here, but it was that you could buy a Model 3, right, John, under $30,000 with incentives in the States, which is incredible. But have you also looked into what incentives may exist for whether it's business or just government or whoever it may be, as far as even just that sales component, production, setting up your factory, how that compares to what you have at home?
Yeah, in Europe, nothing in the UK, but in Europe there's subsidy up to £3,000 a unit. We're already familiar with various markets in Europe. We haven't specifically targeted any particular state for that. We think it's coming, and I think it will be part of the wider conversation, part of the strategy really for our sales team to get stuck into. But absolutely, we are familiar with subsidies. Sadly, we don't have it in the UK. Can you believe that? We have it on certain vehicles, but we don't have it as yet. But it's coming. To incentivize people to take out the old quad, put in the new one, is common sense. And I think it's months, not years away. And certainly, if that's available in the US, it's something we'd want to harness. Absolutely.
Yeah, ultimately, it's not just cars on the road. That's one of the biggest. I don't want to say problem, but that's the biggest piece is main vehicle traffic on roads. But it's a team effort as far as you have quads, you have snowmobiles and jet skis and boats, and there's a very big group that really has to make that transition.
Yeah, Fred and I have a meeting with one of the ministers in London next week, or week after next. They've invited us down because we're part of the UK export finance. We're one of the flagship businesses, and they've invited us down. And that's going to be one of my points. Is how can you not do this? How can you not incentivize people to take? Councils have got security, have got dozens of these ICE quads, take them off the road and put electric on, and give people a reason to do that. Not just cars, to your point, Stephen. That's common sense. So. We're looking forward to having that conversation.
Also, with some help, with governmental fundings in other countries to help with manufacturing, because we'd love to manufacture it in space, in country, because obviously that makes more sense. We don't want to ship stuff around the world for nothing. We would rather manufacture it in country. So to manufacture in the States with some help would be great. So that's something we're currently working on.
And like you said, ultimately adds to your sustainability and environmental component by manufacturing where you're going to sell.
Yeah. Well, we couldn't be, more excited about, this partnership, about what you're doing. And the great thing is that a lot of our audience will be at the Tesla Takeover. And maybe some of you that are tuning in don't know what that is. We're doing the largest Tesla owners event in North America. We're hosting that at Madonna Inn, July 20, late July. And so it's going to be one of those things where EcoCharger Quads is actually going to be there. And so I would love for you to tell us about what our audience and members can expect from you really at the Takeover.
Yeah, so great. Yeah, so we're going to be there. I'm going to be there. Fred's going to be there. Some of the team from the US. We're going to be bringing some quads for you to see. We'll have our flagship range, so the Prestige and the Power, and we're really looking forward to it. I mean, it's we don't have representation in California. We have, as I said, we've sold to 8 or 9 states already, and as I said, we just the interaction, the conversation will be great for us. With great feedback. We believe we've learned a little in the last 12, 18 months. I'm sure we're going to learn a lot working with you guys. So really looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, it's going to be just a great experience. It's going to add to that experiential element of it, especially just because the field is huge. And so there's going to be a lot of grass and area to really just kind of be able to kind of get a feel of these amazing vehicles. I also know that you're also offering, some special offerings actually to our members, and I don't know if you want to get into that a little bit, also to potentially
Yeah, I
how.
mean, we already have a long-standing relationship with Tesla in the UK, and what we basically say is that any Tesla owner, they get priority booking on the for orders. We offer a £500 $500 discount on accessories on what you buy, and as we build our brand in the US, they'll be part of our members group, where we can offer, when we're doing our own events and events with you, they'll be on that list. So we're looking forward to starting the journey really with the Tesla owners in Silicon Valley, and the Takeover event's super exciting for us because it puts us right in the shop window really for our business, and we're so grateful to be invited to join a partnership with you.
Yeah, we're definitely excited to see you there. Excited to have the attendees get to interact with the quads, ride on them, and just get more information. I think you may even have a special wrap on one of them. That's something we talked about. That would be pretty.
Yeah,
pretty cool
yeah,
to see
we're looking at that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, well, we couldn't be more excited, especially because it doesn't just take one or two people to lead this transition to a sustainable future. We need everyone, and so Eco Charger Quads is playing a huge role, especially in the ATV and quad space, especially farming, agriculture, a lot of that, and then just even the fun and thrill of it, obviously too, just. Even being able to do patrols on the beaches, and there's so many other use cases, but it's really going to take everybody to make this happen. And so, on behalf of Tesla owners of Silicon Valley, we just want to thank you for being a partner, for also too for all the work that you're doing. And so, we'll finish out with closing remarks. But if you want to check out Eco Charger Quads, make sure to check them out. Obviously on ecochargerquads.com, on Twitter that they're eco quads. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, you can check out the link in the description. But definitely, make sure to go check them out. And if you are going to be in the area on July 29th through the 30th, make sure to stop by their booth and get a ride on one of these amazing quads and ATVs. But I would love to, if you have any more closing remarks, Stephen, too, if you wanted to throw in any last thoughts. But we just want to thank you again so much for your time today.
Thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure, and we're super excited too.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you guys, and nice to see there's other people out there that are of a kindred spirit and want to make a change, for the better.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. Again, make sure to check out the description, or if you're on Twitter, it's at EcoQuads, or if you want to visit their website, it's ecochargerquads.com. We really appreciate your time today and joining us for this podcast series on your business and how you're really changing this space.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.